Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's game week, Alabama week. Got a lot to talk about. A lot of crazy things happening in college football. National Football League kicked off yesterday. We'll be happy to put your questions and comments today. We'll have JC here in just a second portion of the program. We'll have Scott Carter get his thoughts on USF and leading into the Alabama game. But first, let's go to the Titan MR hotline. JC, good morning. What's up?
Hey, man. Great. What a great weekend. What a tremendous weekend. We had some really cool games on Saturday. I went to the Saints and the Packers yesterday, saw an absolute beatdown. Never seen a pro game like that ever. It felt like
especially when your fantasy quarterback is the reigning MVP, maybe scored the lowest point total you can possibly score, 1.2. 1.2. I could go do that right now if 51.
I couldn't believe it. I think Green Bay's he's got to decide if he's all in or not, man. He looked so pedestrian yesterday, as if it was just going through the motions. And they gave him a big check. But I tell you what, I have a feeling next weekend on Monday Night Football against the Lions, Aaron Rodgers will be just fine.
Well, but the Lions are on Monday Night Football?
The Lions and the Packers in Green Bay. Yeah, I know. I have no idea. I have no idea why they did that, but that's what it is. But anyway, I think he'll get right there. I would hope for Green Bay's sake, because if he doesn't, then it's time to look at Jordan Love. I don't know. I mean, I just saw a guy yesterday. It just didn't look like he was really into it. Over the weekend, QB, we had our picks. Kind of tough games. I mean, we both took some L's. We got some wins though, but I went 6-6, and you went 5-7. QB, another sub 500 weekend for the QB.
Yep, not good, but it's a long season. We got a couple of Facebook Lives here. Dan says, "I told you the Texas A&M game will be close." Well, it was only close because they lost their quarterback.
I mean, yeah, you lose that guy. I would think that their backup isn't that far behind them, but man, that team didn't. That team is not winning anything.
I watched pretty much the entire game. The backup, man, he made some plays at the end to allow them to win the football game. But if he gets more reps this weekend, I don't know who A&M has, but they were my team to win the SEC. I'm still going to stick with them because I don't know what the status of Haynes King is, but gosh, they're skill guys. I really think their skill guys on offense are the best in the league. Better than Alabama, better than Georgia, better than everybody.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think
I know for a fact they are.
Because you know for a fact. So it's a fact. It's a fact.
Well, they have the best. They have the best tight end in the league. They have the best dual. Do you even know? You don't even know who their players are, Jason.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They haven't beaten anybody yet. Let's wait till they beat somebody. What do you care? They beat nobody yesterday. They beat nobody the week before. I don't want to hear it. They have to beat somebody.
Okay, well, let me back up. Let me back up a second. Who is your team beat?
Doesn't matter. You already know what they are. You already know what they are. You already know what they are.
A&M, I'm just going to sit here and say A&M has the second longest win streak in America behind Alabama. And the only team they lost to was Alabama. But I'm telling you right now, they have the best skill players in the Southeastern Conference.
Well, anyway, I was more impressed. Well, it is close, and I was more impressed with Arkansas. I was more impressed with Kentucky. Actually, I was more impressed with Missouri than I was your A&M guys. I mean, listen, Kentucky plays physical. I agree with you on their quarterback. I agree with Missouri's quarterback, although he got hit a lot in that game. I think both those teams are going to give everybody in the East except Georgia a real tough game. In fact, they may even give Georgia a tough game. I don't know. But
speaking of Georgia.
Well, let me just go back to Arkansas for a minute. That game in Arkansas and Fayetteville was the most fun they've had there in over a decade, maybe even longer. And that team physically put it to Texas. that sent a message, I think, that this is not a rollover anymore. Now, I don't know what you think of KJ.
He's horrible.
Well, I don't think he's horrible. I mean, you can say he's horrible.
I'm going to tell you right now.
I would rather have him than that Texas A&M guy you got, okay? I would rather have him.
JC, you haven't – that guy's the backup.
And by the way, they're going to – well, that's who's playing. That's who you're going to have for your
I will tell you right now.
But they will play Texas A&M, and we will see what happens.
I will bet you anything you want to bet that Arkansas does not beat Texas A&M.
Listen, if Texas A&M has that guy they played on Saturday, I think there's a chance.
He will be better, but it doesn't matter. Arkansas, here's what you don't understand is I told you before the game that Texas had a lot of issues, did I not? And it came true. But I got to give a shout out to my man Stetson Bennett at Georgia. He had a stat line that I have never seen in any level of football. He went 5 for 5 for 245, 4 touchdowns. Then he went 6 for 6 for 254 and 5 touchdowns, and ended the game at 9 for 9 for 286 and 5 touchdowns. I've never seen that at any level. So I thought he was phenomenal. We got a ton of Facebook questions here about Anthony Richardson. He will not be 100%. If anybody thinks he's going to be 100%, they've never tweaked the hamstring. Will he play? I think it'll all depend on how he does in practice this week. So we'll see. But the hamstrings are a deal that, man, they can nag you for a whole season, a whole career. So it's something that they have to take care of immediately.
Well, the thing is, they recover on their own schedule, don't they? And so, I mean,
there ain't a whole lot you can do with it.
Right. There's this like ribs, right? You pop your rib and you've just got to wait. It's a waiting game.
With ribs, you can shoot ribs up. You can't shoot your hamstring up.
Okay. Yeah. But that's a tough break for Florida if he's not 100%. And I guess he's not going to be. I don't think your guy Jones is good enough. I'm just sorry he doesn't play the game with the speed that's going to be required to score a lot of points against that team. Well, and even though Alabama might be losing their second linebacker in as many weeks, their leading tacklers are gone. Anderson and Allen may not play. Well, Allen's not playing. Will Anderson got hurt against Mercer, up 31-0 in a meaningless game. Bad break for Alabama. We don't know if he's going to play or not, but those are the two leading tacklers on that defense. I know you don't think that's a big deal. I think it's a big deal because he's an All-American.
Deal at all.
He's a preseason All-American. Of course it's a big deal. Why isn't it a big deal? You go lose some preseason All-Americans and tell me it's not a big deal. Come on.
Because you got plenty of other ones there.
He's the best player on the field.
Gene wants to know, where's JC's Jags hat today?
Well, I'm not changing the subject. I'm going to go back to that game. If Alabama doesn't have their two best tacklers, that is good for Florida. It is good. It will matter. It does matter because those guys are difference makers. They take over games. So we'll see if he's healthy. We'll see if Richardson's healthy. Jones,
Richardson will not be healthy. You can forget about that. Well, you cannot tweak a hamstring and be 100% within 7 days. It's impossible. Though your body just does not heal like that. Dan says save Anthony for Georgia. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just telling you.
That's a long way off,
folks. Hamstrings are some of the worst things that can possibly happen. All right, I got a couple of not Facebook Live. I got a bunch of texts here on the Titan Mark text line I got to read.
By the way, your Aggies play the Hogs in 2 weeks. Give me Arkansas right now.
You can have them all you want.
I got them. I'm writing it down. Week 4.
Daryl says, Shane, I don't care what JC says. Texas A&M tight end is a stud. Yeah, he's clearly the best tight end in the league. And they got the best slot receiver in the league. They got probably the two best running backs in the league.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, hey, look.
But JC, you can't sit here and talk. You can't sit here and talk about my analysis of players when you think the Jaguars are a good football team.
I can sit here and tell you that the Texas listen, that pick was made to get never mind. I'm not even going to talk about that because right now that's a waste of time. The Texas A&M team has not won a big game since Johnny Football. If you're telling me that without their starting quarterback, they're winning the West, I'm saying to you they're not. So it's just that simple for me.
Well,
first go ahead and take them all you want. Take them. Go ahead.
Here's my point. You didn't listen. You have a hard time listening.
No, I don't. I heard exactly what you said. They have the best athletes on the field. That should mean that they're going to probably win the conference.
Well, they will if they get their quarterback back. I don't know what his status is. I don't
believe
follow
that either,
Texas A&M football.
Okay.
But if his leg is broken,
sounds like you do follow
if
Texas
his leg
A&M
is
football.
broken, they will not win the conference. If he comes back, they will win the SEC. They're still going to be better once this kid gets more playing time and practice. They're going
to lose to Arkansas in 2 weeks.
Well, we can wager whatever you would like on that.
Okay.
Ryan says here, happy Monday. Shane says JC's been on a summer-long travel excursion. It's clear he's doing okay in the financial advising business, but he needs to leave the sports predicting to Vegas. His Jags might not get 7 wins till 2023. It looks like Texas is going to be the Tennessee of the SEC West. A lot of smoke, but no fire. Another quick note on the Jags. The fans might as well get used to that 38-3 type of score we saw in the Saints blowout of the Packers. Thanks, Ryan.
I mean, Jacksonville plays next week against Denver. Yeah,
they have no chance.
I had no idea that they were so inept. Even though they had only won 1 game, I would have thought.
Did somebody tell you that? Somebody on this podcast told you their defense was horrible.
Okay, we know that the Jaguars suck. Okay, why are we still talking about that? It's already been established.
Because you don't want to.
I made a pick back in April or May that said, the Jaguars are going to win 7 games. Who in the hell cares? They're not going anywhere. By the way, you are 12-17 on the picks, on the Peachland picks. I am 16-12. Why don't we just talk about that? I mean, you're not even 500.
But here's the difference. I can sit here and admit I've picked bad games.
Okay.
And just admit that the Jaguars have no good players, like I told you.
Okay. I'm going to write it down. We're going to do this. We'll make it very simple.
Sometimes, Jason, you got to be a man and say I was wrong.
Okay, here. I'm going to do something. This is going to make everybody happy. Okay? Jags suck. All right?
Yes, they do.
We got it out. There it is.
Turn your car or truck into a rolling diesel for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap.
There it is. Okay.
This September, mention promo code Shane and receive 13%.
Got another one for you.
We're trying to get JC here.
I got another one for you right here. Here's another one for you. Go Hogs. All right.
Okay.
Go Hogs.
You're jumping on a bandwagon that is going to crash and burn.
Dude, they look good. You can't tell me they didn't look good the other night.
JC, they look good, but you got to say, okay, Texas is not what you thought Texas was.
No,
they have quarterback problems.
Look,
they have quarterback problems.
QB,
they have linebacker problems. They have secondary problems.
They were 7-point favorites. It's not a shock. I mean, it's a shock to everybody. They were 7-point favorites on the road. You're telling me Vegas is that stupid too? We're all stupid.
Vegas will adjust now that they've seen Texas play. Because the team they beat, Louisiana Lafayette, who was a ranked team, barely escaped beating Nicholls State.
Okay, well, the biggest absurdity this whole weekend wasn't the Jaguars. It wasn't Texas. It wasn't anything other than Florida State. That coaching staff lost that game. You cannot play cover 2 man when you're up by 3 point or whatever it is, and they're 60 yards away.
They weren't playing 2 man.
They weren't playing cover 2. Yes, they were.
No, they weren't.
What were they? Yes, they were. They were playing cover 2 man.
They played a soft, and they played cover 3.
2. They played cover 2 man.
JC, can you draw up cover 2 for me on the screen real quick?
They played cover 2 man. Everybody saw it. The idiots didn't understand that. You know what he said after the game? He goes, I was afraid that they would complete a pass and call timeout. You can't do that with 6 seconds. And even if you do that, the worst thing could happen is you go to overtime. But you can't lose the game like that. Every one of those coaches should have $500,000 taken out of their paycheck tomorrow. Because they lost the game.
$500,000.
They lost the game. Norvell should. He lost the game. They are morons. That is the worst play and the biggest irresponsibility and dereliction of duty I've ever seen on a sideline for a coaching staff that's supposedly a Division I staff. You know what? Willie Taggart, your favorite coach, never lost to an FCS team. Not once. They at least beat Jack State. Jack State won that game on the last play.
It was always a battle. It was a battle. But they were not in 2 man. They were in a soft zone coverage, 1 high safety, and for whatever reason, it was just a horrible play, horrible call, horrible play on their part. But this goes to show you that
here's another one for you. I got another one for you.
Notre Dame is not what we thought Notre Dame was because
that's a good point.
And got lucky to beat Toledo.
Good point. Good point. Hey, that's look, Notre Dame, we all know what Notre Dame is, right? But this is something not you, not me, and not everybody saw coming. And that is FSU 0-12. You know what Wake Forest is going to do to them this weekend? You know what Wake Forest is going to do to them?
They'll beat somebody.
Who? Florida State? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, that game they played yesterday was their only chance, it would appear. That team is so – they just don't – and here's the thing. They can't do anything about it because you're not going to fire Mike Norvell or Terry Norvell. You can't fire either one of them because the fact of the matter is that you can't be a school that says we're going to bring someone in and in 2 years he's gone. Then nobody will go there. I mean, you could go there maybe, and maybe you could turn it around for him. But, I mean, you can hire me. I could play –
well, not if you think they're playing two-man. I can't hire you, JC.
That's what Tom Luganbill said. You go argue with him. I just heard it.
Well, I need to look at the tape then. Because what I saw on Twitter didn't look like they were two-man.
At the tape. Go look at the tape. But it doesn't matter. Play cover 10. Put them all on the goal line, QB. And then he says in the locker room, we didn't want them to call timeout because, they could kick a field goal. There were 6 seconds left. Look, there is a lot of stupidity out there, but what I saw Florida State display was the pinnacle of asinine coach. They lost that game. Their team wasn't prepared, and they're going 0-12. Wake Forest will name their score on your Seminoles next weekend, folks. Sorry. The FSU fans could let's start thinking about basketball. Leonard Hamilton, whatever. At least you guys compete in that. Florida, Alabama. Listen, Florida, Alabama. You better hope that Richardson kid can play. That's what I'm going to tell you. If he doesn't play, you better hope that every Alabama linebacker doesn't play either, because Jones is not going to be good enough. He's not. He's just not. But we'll see. Go Gators.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the tape here. It's hard to see on the TV what coverage they're in, but from what I can see, I can't tell if it's two-man or not, but they're playing off two-man.
I already told you.
But two-man, you press the receivers. They're not pressing the receivers, so it can't be two-man. So anyway, John says FSU fired Taggart with the final record of 9-12. Norwell will have to finish the season at 6-4 in the final 10 games just to get to Taggart's record.
They're not. They're going. I just put their record up on the screen. There it is. Okay, that's what they're doing. 0-12.
Well, I haven't looked at the schedule. I got to think they're going to win one game. So, JC, we got Andre says just need to say Medvedev mop the court with Djokovic's hind parts.
Yeah, it was
I
good,
respect Joker's accomplishments and ability, but he's not the GOAT. And JC lost his bet with me.
Okay, well,
JC,
if he's not the GOAT,
bets.
Let me ask this nice man Andre if Medvedev or Djokovic have 20 Grand Slams or 16 Grand Slams or 18 Grand. I mean, good for Daniil Medvedev. He is a great player. He's not Djokovic, but he did win. But all you have to do is look at the records, okay? And I'm happy to see it happen. I mean, men's tennis is about as exciting as watching at one point Big Ten football, but now all of a sudden we have actually a conference to watch in the Big Ten. So go Ducks. That game against Ohio State was fabulous. It showed Ohio State's weakness on defense. It showed that
Ohio
the Pac-12
State's done now. I think they're done.
I agree. It showed that the Pac-12 has got a realistic chance of getting a team in the college football playoff, because I think it's UCLA and Oregon. It looks that way after what we saw Stanford do to USC. So you've got two teams in the Pac-12 potentially. They will play each other. That's a beautiful thing. You've got, a Big Ten race that looks kind of wide open now, although I still think Ohio State's the team to pick there, because I'm not really sold on Penn State yet. We're going to find a lot about them with Auburn rolling into Happy Valley. We don't know anything about Auburn because they played two, JV schools this first 2 weeks of the season, but I think Harsin has that team bought in. They play with discipline, and they do what they're expected to do, even against subpar opponents. So, they don't play down to the level of the schools they had to play these last 2 weeks, but they were on the schedule, so they had to play them. I'd be really interested to see how Bo Nix does up at Happy Valley. They say he's playing a lot better under the control of Brian Harsin. It's just like Jameis Winston, man. That guy can play, and we all know he can play. He's a great passer, but he just needed the right coach, and that's what he's got in New Orleans and the Saints, whether they're playing wherever the hell they're playing, because they probably won't be in the Dome for another month and a half. But that team looked the real deal. That defense was as nasty as I've seen an NFL defense in a long, long time. Look out for the Saints because Winston's not going to turn the ball over. And I think Auburn with Bo Nix could be a quiet team to watch out for, but we're going to learn a lot this weekend.
Joe says on Facebook Live, how about Billy Horschel winning the BMW? Yeah, congrats to Billy for winning that over on the European Tour. John says Iowa's going to get hyped up after their first 2 wins. Easy road coming up now. I don't know who Iowa plays. Here's one thing I am going to say. I am done listening to all the crap about the Iowa State Cyclones. Okay. Every year, there's their chance to win the Big 12. It's their chance to do this. They ain't worth a damn.
Well, listen, I mean, it's kind of surprising to me. They look so – Brock Purdy looks horrible out there. It's like he doesn't know he forgot how to play the position. And Matt Campbell has not beaten I almost said Hayden Fry. He has not beaten Kirk Ferentz. He has never beaten Iowa. He'll be at Iowa State for a while. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think Iowa State will get there, just like all these teams will. In that conference, it's Oklahoma and everybody else would appear now. I really thought Texas was going to improve. They got to get more players there. It showed. And I think they'll be able to, but it's going to take some time. And so it looks very good for Oklahoma, even though they didn't play anybody this weekend either. And then, I guess in the ACC, we still have to believe. I still believe Clemson's the team to beat. Pittsburgh is going to be tough. They're very good. They got Clemson at home. That quarterback's good. Tennessee played them tough, but Pitt won on the road. That typically doesn't always happen. They usually find a way to lose a game. But I'm telling you, the teams that showed me something this week, the big impressions I got was Kentucky, and you've been right about Kentucky. You have. Arkansas and Missouri. Those are not pushover teams. They talk about a 2-team league in the East, in the SEC East, Florida and Georgia. Put it 4 in there. It's 4. It's Missouri, Kentucky, Georgia, and Florida, and Georgia's clearly the leader right now in the clubhouse, if you ask me.
Missouri's quarterback is a stud.
He can sling it, man.
He's going to be a high draft pick when when it's time for him to come out.
It's amazing what a great quarterback can do. He changes everything with your team. I mean, a good quarterback changes everything with your team. That's why I think that kid at Arkansas has got a chance. I don't think Pittman's going to ask him to do a whole lot there. But they're big.
But they're going to get when they run into a couple of these real SEC defenses, you'll see what I'm talking about. He don't throw it well enough. They can take away the run game. It's just like Arkansas started out early, hot last year.
Well, let me ask you this:
I love Sam Pittman. I think he's perfect for Arkansas, but I don't think Arkansas beats Ole Miss. I don't think they beat A&M. They're not going to beat Alabama. They're not. Well, they may beat LSU. LSU's a bad football team. So
Ole Miss is another one. Ole Miss is another one with Corral. I mean, you're always in it when you have a guy like that. But here's my question to you. Would you rather have that Arkansas quarterback right now or Emory Jones? And I hate picking on poor Emory, but let's just ask the question. Would you rather have that Arkansas quarterback or Emory Jones?
I don't know because I don't. You don't know. I mean, you're just going off what
I'm asking.
The other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's exactly right. I'm going off that. Yeah, because we're in week 3. You don't know. Okay. Listen, you better also figure out how to run the football too. And I think you have, but not with Richardson in there. Richardson is your guy. He's your best runner, and he's probably your best player.
I agree. I've said all along that Anthony's a tremendous player, but Dan has protected him extremely well and only given him certain things to do. It's either quarterback runs or throw the ball deep. I saw some clips of people breaking down the game where he had intermediate pass plays called. He didn't pull the trigger. He just took off running. I don't think you can do that against top-notch SEC teams. He's a different player. There's no question, but that's why people get so upset. They don't know the big picture. And I saw a couple of weeks ago the greatest quote of all time. I don't know if it was on Twitter or whatever, that some person, and I want to say it was a college football coach, he tweeted, every male in America thinks they can do 2 things and 2 things really well. 1 is cook on the grill, and 2 is coach football. And so the bottom line is,
oh my Lord,
Dan Mullen's being paid a lot of money. If everybody had all the answers, they wouldn't be working their jobs. They would be coaching football. So you got to trust what the coach is doing. But what I see with my
unless you're a Florida State fan,
he is actually protecting Anthony very well because all his throws are down the field. I've never understood when these people talk about, I got a young quarterback. We need to keep it short throws. The short throws, that's where problems come in.
But you've said on this show and on countless other shows, keep it simple a lot of times. Do the short. If you can't throw the short balls,
don't do the short throws is my point.
Well,
there's too many bad things that can happen in the short passing game.
But you said many times, if they can't do these little, stick routes and digs, if you can't complete those passes, you're not a quarterback in this league. You can't play the position.
Well, that's my point. We still haven't thrown those passes consistently. We've thrown the deep ball very well, but I told you, deep balls are easy throws because there's no thinking. You just drop back and you launch it. Now, you still got to complete them. You may overthrow them, whatever, but there's no reading usually in a deep throw. And so that's what Dan has done a great job with him.
Well, maybe you'll see that. You could see that Saturday. I mean, I don't know. Florida's probably not played the entire playbook in the first two games. I mean, not that really is going to matter, but maybe it does matter. And maybe Florida will throw some things at Alabama you haven't seen yet. I don't know.
David says here on Facebook Live, I guess he's referring to my statement of what that one coach said about everybody's a tremendous griller and a tremendous coach. Kind of like everyone knows medicine, even though they are not doctors.
Yeah. Well, and they all know about vaccines. Did you know that everybody in America knows what's in these vaccines? Everybody.
Yeah, we're all experts.
Yeah. Just like they knew what was in the polio vaccine. We all knew what was in there. We all know what's in aspirin. We all know what's in ibuprofen. We know everything. So, I mean, that's the world we're living in today. It's the world of knowing all. But, I know this. Ohio State can't play defense. I know that. And that may not be good enough to get in it. Clemson can play defense. And I'm not counting Clemson out yet because when Ohio State loses and these teams lose around them, that brings Clemson back into the fold. They've got a tough game at Pittsburgh, and I think that's about it for them. So,
yeah, Pitt. I told you I did not like Tennessee's quarterback. He struggled against Pitt. I thought they benched him. He got hurt. The Hayden Hooker kid came in and lit him up and brought him back.
Well,
I'm telling you, Tennessee can be dangerous with Hayden Hooker at quarterback.
Hayden Hooker. I think Josh Heupel is smart enough to figure that out.
But
I think the East has gotten a lot. All I'm going to say is I've said a lot today, but I think the East has gotten a lot more interesting with the resurgence, with the Kentucky Wildcats showing us that they are physical, fast, and have a pretty darn good quarterback. I would think every Florida fan watching this right now wishes they had Will Levis, or wishes they had Connor Bazelak, or wishes they had Bryce Young, or wishes they had the Stetson Bennett kid. I mean, think about it. All these schools, all of a sudden, now we know that the SEC has some quarterbacks in the league, right?
Well, Stetson Bennett's not even their starter.
I know it, but would you like to have him?
I think he's a good little player.
That's all I'm saying. The kid
he had Georgia up 14-0 against us last year, and got hurt, and then we turned it on. I was trying to find. The Air Force Navy game was awesome. I don't know if you saw it, but this is the most impressive thing I saw all week long. You know how many yards of offense Navy had?
No,
against Air Force.
How many? Tell me.
68 in the entire football.
Well, and Army is going to kill them again this year. But yeah, Navy is just, with these service academy teams, especially Army Navy, you pretty much get a consistency out of Air Force. But with the Army Navy teams, it's 4-year, 5-year cycles. Those are I wouldn't even call them developmental programs. I would call Iowa a developmental program, but I wouldn't call Army, Navy, or even Air Force developmental programs. They are what they are for the 4 years that those kids play. And some years Army's really good, and some years are really bad. And same thing with Navy. I think that's just what you get with those service academies. But I love Iowa right now in the West. I know they're boring as hell, but they win. And I think in the East, Penn State's got a real chance. But I still think Ohio State's the team to beat, even though they looked awful against Oregon on the defense.
So you still think they can get into the 14 playoff?
I don't know about that, but I think, winning the conference is all they should be thinking about right now, QB. And I think you've got, if we're going to bring up the 14 playoff, I think you've got to put Clemson back in there. I think certainly there could be 2 SEC teams, absolutely. And then I think the Pac-12 looks pretty solid. And Oklahoma should win the Big 12. So we'll have 4, 5, 6 teams to talk about when it's time to talk about that. But Oregon's a real deal. I think that the way Cristobal has built that team with its physical nature all of a sudden to mash up with speed. And remember, they didn't even have their best player. He was on the sideline. Oregon. So with UCLA showing us that they've got some athletes now, and Chip Kelly wants to run the football, I think UCLA and Oregon are going to be legit. Yeah, I do.
Before we let you go, JC, on September the 13th, which is today, I'm making a statement that I think Lane Kiffin will be the next coach at Southern California. Who do you think the next coach will be?
Well, yeah, I think Urban Meyer might. I mean, I don't know what Urban's commitment level is in Jacksonville. I'm sure it's there.
You think he's already given up after 1 week?
I mean, who would be surprised, right? I mean, when you look at how pathetic that team seems to actually be, and it took me by surprise, but now it doesn't. When the Houston Texans just run you out of the building, I don't know how you can coach them up any differently. They're just what they are. But I don't know about Lane, and the reason why is because he's already been there and done that. And I don't think that administration will have it. Now, I know he's got family connections there and so forth, but listen, he's got a good thing going in Ole Miss. I don't think Ole Miss is –
Here's the thing, JC. He's a California kid. His kids still live out there. And B, he can win in that conference, and he ain't going to be able to win the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, Southern Cal should be able to recruit players, right? You would think.
Yeah, John says, didn't Kiffin already coach there? Yes, he did.
Yes,
but
he did.
They got a whole new AD and all that stuff. And Lane has changed. I don't know. I just got a feeling. And yes, John Kerwin did take one on the chin Saturday in Norman. It was like 74-0.
They took a check, is what they took. How about this though? Somebody got paid $400,000 and won the game. Oh, that was Jacksonville State.
And then they planted the flag on in the middle of the field. So, all right, JC, we got to let you go, my man, because Scott Carter wants to talk some Gators in Alabama.
Okay. All right.
Go put that Jags hat in the fire pit.
Okay. Yeah, you won't be seeing that.
All right. That's JC joins us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our first time out. Come back. We'll be joined by Scott Carter, FloridaGators.com. Talking Gator football. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips. It's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Bass Pro Shops, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron French Pastries, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, and now open the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Make your reservations today at SpurriersGridironGrill.com. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Also, Visors is having their grand opening this Thursday night. They'll be open from now on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturday night. Go out there. You can check out Coach Mullen's show every Thursday there with Jeff Cardozo. But let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We're going to be joined by a guy who I hear he's opening up his own restaurant, Scott Carter. Just kidding, yeah. Scott. Good morning. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. If I was opening a restaurant, I don't know, probably be like a taco stand or a rib joint.
Well, Scott, you were down there at Tampa. Obviously, good turnout for the Gator Nation there, a good victory. South Florida's, I'll be honest, one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in Division I, but we took care of business. I think, we did get a couple people banged up. Ventrell Miller And obviously, Anthony Richardson tweaked his hamstring. We got a Facebook Live here from David wants to know, I just got back any news on AR's hammy. Here's the thing. MRI is going to show whatever. Hamstrings are a weird injury because it's not like you break your leg and they say, okay, it's X amount of weeks, that bone heal. It's just going to be kind of a wait and see. I feel like he will play, but those things can linger for years. What have you heard?
Yeah, it's definitely, the old day-to-day analogy. I think Anthony's going to be day-to-day all week. They'll do the treatment. They'll do some benchmark tests for him. And you're right, Shane. I mean, guys respond differently to these things. I mean, some guys get back real quick and not an issue. Some guys, they linger. So I think, it's so early in the week. I don't know much other than that right now. I'd be interested to see what Dan says later today, just how he kind of frames it, and if it's viewed as more serious or it's just something that, hey, he's going to have to deal with it. But so we'll know more, I think, later today. I'm like you. I think he'll play. I mean, he's 19-year-old fast tiller, but again, I don't know how serious those MRIs and stuff turned up, but it was really what everybody was talking about after the game. I mean, the guy is we haven't seen anybody like that, Shane, in a long time for the Gators. Especially, I don't know if we've ever seen anybody like that at the quarterback position who just can do what he can running the ball. But he's definitely a game changer, and that Dan Mullen, he's what the fans are talking a lot about Emory and Anthony, but you knew he was playing his cards until the Alabama game, and then we're going to see how that was going to shake out. So hopefully Anthony's okay, and they can still utilize him and Emory the way that Mullen envisioned in the Alabama game.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see because, like I said, hamstrings, I've been around a lot of players. I've had a hamstring myself, and they're just dicey, because, Anthony's going to go through, like you said, all the testing and everything they're going to do the next couple of days, and he's going to want to play. But it's one of those deals where if he does play and, he tries to accelerate and he snaps it, now you're looking at almost 5, 6, 7 weeks. So do you make sure and rest him and say, okay, we need him for the rest of you? I don't know. It's going to be a weird situation to figure out, but we won't know anything, I bet, until game time. And here's what I'm predicting. He's going to suit up regardless.
Yeah.
He's going to suit up because obviously Dan is going to want Saban and them to, practice, trying to deal with both quarterbacks. But, if he comes out in street clothes on Saturday, that's going to change their thought process on the other sideline. So he will be suited up, in my opinion. So we shall see. Receivers made some plays, which was good to see.
Yeah, Copeland finally had that breakout game that I think people have wanted to see. We know that this guy has a lot of talent, but maybe the production, after the opener, he had one catch for 15 yards. I'm thinking, well, maybe that's just who he is. He's going to be one of those secondary guys. But then he catches that big 75-yarder from Anthony early. Then it has another one, 41 later. Had a nice catch on the sideline, one of his better catches when Richardson was on the roll. So a really nice performance by Copeland. We continue to see Xavier Henderson, I think, emerge as a go-to guy. That was an excellent play and throwing catch that him and Emory had for the 35-yard touchdown. Shorter had a play here and there. So, the receivers, I think it just really goes hand in hand with the passing game, Shane. They ran the ball in game one. It was obvious they tried to do more in the passing game in game two to get both quarterbacks a little more confidence. Also, they know they're going to have to really mix it up against Alabama to win that game. And you're going to need those receivers. We just talked about Copeland, Henderson, Shorter, Trent Whittemore. They're all going to have to do something. And the tight ends have not been a real factor in the passing game so far. Mullen said their production has been excellent with what they wanted to do, but it's looked different without Kyle Pitts, obviously, as we knew it would. So I'm curious to see how that position evolves over this season.
Yeah, like I told you, I think Dan is as good a play caller and schemer in the country. And what he's done so well, regardless of who the quarterback's been, and like I said, I'm not watching the game film. I tape it and I go back and watch what I can see on TV is we haven't had a whole lot of success just dropping straight back and throwing.
Yeah.
All our good plays and good throws for the most part have come off boot action or scramble type plays getting outside the pocket. The two best throws the other night, one was by Emery. Now this was just a straight drop back go route to, I think it was Henderson in the corner of the end zone. That was the best throw of the night.
Yeah, it was.
Then the other best throw was when we ran a little waggle boot action with AR. Pressure got to him, and he kind of moved to the left and slung that one about 35 yards on the sideline to Copeland, I believe.
Yeah.
Those two were the best throws. The deep balls that Anthony completed, perfect throws on the money, but those were easy throws. There was no reading involved. It's like, okay, we got the perfect coverage. I know this guy's going to be wide open. I just got to make a good throw. But I've just noticed that Dan hasn't. And he asked Emery to drop back several times to make throws, and Emery made a few good ones. But we've had more success getting our quarterbacks moving and throwing.
Yeah, I think that's really part of the plan. I mean, that's what this offense is going to look like. It's not anything like 2020 with Kyle Trask just dropping back there and looking around through his reads. You have seen that a little with Emery, as you mentioned. He's the guy who's more experienced and more suited for that. I think Anthony Richardson is a guy who they know he's his most dangerous when he's on the move. You give him an option to throw or run. He's been dangerous either way. 3 for 3 for 152 yards the other day. I think he's got 7 or 8 career completions now, Shane. 4 touchdowns. So, when he throws it, good things usually happen. And then when he runs it, good things usually happen. And Emery had a nice 33-yard run. So getting those guys out of the pocket almost instantly after the snap, that looks like what they want to do and what they're probably going to have to do certainly this week against Alabama to have a chance. And it's really interesting to see. I think it does go back to what you're saying, Shane. That just shows you Dan's ability to adjust, to use the talent that he has, and to make it work. No matter, they had, I think, 500 yards on offense the other day for the 10th time in the last 15 games. That's what you call producing.
Yeah. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Scott Carter here. He's senior writer at FloridaGators.com. We got a text for you here, Scott. It's an interesting one. It comes from Jimmy. Jimmy wants to know, Scott, do you think our 5-star running backs who are buried on the depth chart that play in mop-up duty will ever get any real-time action?
Well, this year, I don't know. I mean, you've got so much depth there with Damian Pierce and Malik Davis and Nyquan Wright. I don't know if you really need them. I mean, they all 5 played the other day, but I know that, anytime you're 5-star, you're automatically assumed that you're better than the other guys. That's not the case. Certainly not the case, I don't think, this year for Florida. I think Bowman is still got a lot to learn, some natural ability. Lingard seemed like he's getting some more relevant snaps. But I think with just the way the depth is there, I mean, unless there's injuries or one of those guys just makes himself such a difference in the playmaking ability. And also, I think it goes back, you don't really need a bell cow running back, not with Anthony Richardson and Emery Jones playing quarterback, because they are always going to be almost a first option in the running game, or at least a 1A. And we've seen that through the first 2 games. But, yeah, I mean, those guys will play, but I don't know how much in a big game like Saturday.
Yeah. We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Metal Law. Chris says, I'm very worried about the lack of depth on defense. For the second week in a row, they got pushed around easily by subpar teams. I hate to pick on a guy, but that number 21 gets moved off the field like a rag doll. He needs to slim down and get in better shape, in my opinion. Big 21 will not play this week. I can promise you he will not play. I hear where Chris is coming from, because late in the last 2 games, we've given up a bunch of yards, some touchdowns. Any concern for you, Scott, with the depth issue?
I know they've tried to get a lot of guys rotated in and out, and that often is going to look like what we've seen, giving up some late scores. I don't think it's a huge concern for the staff. I think as far as depth, I think if they're healthy, the guys they have are pretty good. But whenever a guy goes down, you're going to have to rely on some younger guys, and it's really going to be make or break for those guys, especially Saturday. I mean, some of those young guys will get a snap here and there. Can they come through while they're out there? And that's all about really taking advantage of opportunity. But I like the front. I like the starters and most of the backups. I think there's just a learning curve, especially in the secondary. We've talked about it, Shane. That is a very, very young group. You knew they were going to probably take some lumps here and there. So I think it's playing out kind of like I expected. I don't really think there's any major depth concerns as long as they don't start losing bodies to injury.
David asked, do any of the running backs play special teams? Maybe on kickoff return?
Yeah, I know Lingard's out there some. I don't know if I've seen Bowman out there. I know Pierce has been out there some. Some of those guys do play on special teams.
Yeah. We're speaking with Scott Carter here on the Titan MR hotline. All right, Scott. Ventrell Miller went out. What's his status? What was it, an elbow?
I think elbow or either that. Last year he was hampered all year really by, I think, a shoulder and an arm. And I don't know if it's related to that or if it's something new. Ventrell, I'll give him credit. He seems to always find a way to get out there on the field. He was never 100% last year, led the team in tackles. Haven't heard anything on the severity of this one compared to anything we've seen in the past, but I have no doubt that if he's able to play, he will play. I mean, this is the kind of game where no one's had this kind of game in a while, Shane. I mean, I'm looking at this game as I know they had the Auburn win in 2019, LSU in 2018, but as far as just what's at stake, what the potential of a home game could mean, this goes back to me the biggest game they've had in a decade or more.
There's no question about that. I mean, you got the number one team in America coming in here, and with all the national titles they've won in the last 10 years. So, Scott, tell me if I'm crazy. These are the keys for us to win this, to have a chance of winning the football game. I think, A, we have to make a play on special teams, whether that's a block punt, return a punt for a touchdown, return a kick, maybe not for a touchdown, but a big, big play in special teams. And I think we got to get Alabama to turn the ball over a minimum of 2 times. Am I crazy thinking that's got to be a kind of our recipe to win?
I would say the turnover part's definitely number one on my list. I mean, you got to make those guys make a mistake. They got a young quarterback, although he doesn't look like a young quarterback yet. You got to make that guy force him into an error. They're on the road. It's going to be crazy at the Swamp. We've seen this formula play out many times over the years, Shane, where you get that crowd into the game early and it leads to some mistakes. And I think that's what Florida's hoping for. Special teams kind of been a non-factor so far. Certainly, that's always going to help against an opponent as good as Alabama. And then I would just add, I mean, I think Alabama can beat you in so many ways. I just think you like it if they have to try to beat you passing more than just lining up and running it down your throat. So I'm looking at that front 7 to me has to be stout. As Mullen said, they got to, they've been bending, not breaking some. They need to be as stout as they possibly can against Alabama because they just do what they do. I mean, it's a battle of wills with those guys.
Yeah, they got some good players. Last thing before we let you go, speaking of special teams, we haven't really, obviously, we've had a tremendous kicker the last few years in McPherson, who kicked a game winner yesterday for the Bengals. I would say we haven't had to really rely on kicking a field goal this year. I can't even remember if we've kicked one. But is that Howard's job or is it Jace Crispin? And then we punted a few times with our Australian guy, but well, I guess my point is we've been good on special teams since Mullen's been here, but these first 2 games, we haven't really had to see it.
No, we haven't, and I mean that's been a good thing, I guess, in some ways. But you also get a little nervous when one of those guys run out, maybe against Alabama on Saturday, at a key situation. I don't know which guy it would be. I mean, I think it's this is one position where Mullen, I think his day-to-day position battle that he likes to talk about, I think it's true there. I think we could see either one of those guys, maybe depending on the distance of a field goal. We've seen Howard and Crispin both in some kickoffs and extra points. So that's a great point you make. I don't know exactly how that would play out. You'd almost like it not to have to come down to that. So we'll see how that looks on Saturday.
Well, if it comes down to that, I think we've played a damn good football game. I can promise you that.
That's one way to look at it, yes.
Yeah. So, John, last question. We'll let you go on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. And this is a very good question. Scott, which matchup on Saturday would you say is in our favor if we have any?
That is a good question. I still think, and Alabama's offensive line they're always great. But I think for Florida, if I've seen something in the first two games, and it's not against Alabama competition, but I think they can do something maybe in the pass rush, better equipped maybe than they have been the last couple of years. Zach Carter's been really good. I still don't think we've seen Brenton Cox even fulfill nearly what he can do. Jeremiah Moon's been way better than I expected. I'll give him credit. I didn't know what to expect of him this year. Been very active. Diabate. I just look at Florida, and Grantham, it's a live or die system that he likes to go with. But I think that pass rush, and he knows it, the Gators know it, I think they have to be a factor on Saturday. And that's one area I kind of like Florida at this point, where they could have an advantage.
Yeah, I would agree a little bit there. I think the weakness, if Alabama has a weakness, their concern going into this year was their offensive line because they've lost so many good ones to the next level. They just replace them, reload. But we have a lot of veteran-type guys there, especially with the transfers. So I think for us to keep this game competitive and really be in it, the defensive line, whether it's in the run game, passing game, whatever, we need to try to control the line of scrimmage. If we can do that, and they can keep us in it, I think we got a chance. So we shall see, Scott. Good stuff as always, my man. Enjoy the beach there, and we'll see you in the swamp on Saturday.
And that will definitely be the number one advantage the Gators have, Shane, the swamp.
The swamp. That's true. Crowd noise can help with the cadence. Hopefully they'll get a lot of false start penalties, no question about it. Scott, good stuff as always. You can check his work out on FloridaGators.com. We're going to take our final time out of the program, come back and wrap up this Monday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still have 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. want to thank JC and our man Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan MRI hotline. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have Buddy Martin get his thoughts on this big Alabama week. And we'll also have Trent Whittemore, wide receiver for the Florida Gators. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tell your friends about it. And don't forget, Visors is opening up, grand opening Thursday night. Coach Mullen's show will kick it off and be open every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot.